අරවානිවන් අව පුරතොර අකුළු ලමින් සුරකින බැවින් සිරිදලඳා සමිඳු පෙමින් පරසතු කුසුම් උඩුකුවනි විසුරුවමින් පෙරහැර පවත්වති දෙවියෝ ඔබේ නමින්.
ඔබ සැමට උතුම් දළදා සැමදු සරණයි. ඓතිහාසික කන්දුඩරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍යයේ දෙවනි රන්දෝලි පෙරහර අද දිනේ වීදි සංචාරය කරනවා. වෙසෙස් වූ මහා සංස්කෘතික ආසිරිය ඔබට සියසින් දැක බලා ගැනීමේ අවස්ථාව උදා වෙලා තියෙනවා. සෙන්කඩගල නුවරට සපමින සිටින දහස් සංඛ්‍යාත ජනතාවට මේ වෙසෙස් වූ මහා සංස්කෘතික මංගල්‍ය ආසිරිය සියසින් දැක බලා ගන්නට හැකි වෙනවා. සේම නිවසේ රැඳී සිටින ඔබට අපි මේ අසිරිමත් දෙවන රන්දෝලි පෙරහරේ රූපරාමු සජීවීව සමීප කරනවා. පියෝ ටීවී නාලිකාංක 20 310 සහ ඩයලොග් නාලිකාංක 48 ෆ්‍රීසට් නාලිකාංක 2 සේම ශ්‍රී දළදා මාලිගාවේ YouTube Facebook ආදී සමාජ මාධ්‍ය ඔස්සේ ඔබට මේ පෙරහැරේ සිරිවිසුතුර දැක බලා ගැනීමට හැකියාව ලැබෙනවා. මෙතන
நன்றி ரோஹண. புது புது வண்ணங்களில் புதுமை சமைத்துக் கொண்டிருக்கின்ற கண்டி மாநகரின் அசல பெரஹராவின் இரண்டாவது ரந்தோலி பெரஹரா என்று அந்த வண்ணங்களை எல்லாம் அள்ளி முழுவதுமாய் விழிகளில் பூச வந்திருக்கின்ற அனைத்து மக்களையும் வருக வருகவென வரவேற்றுக் கொண்டு இக்காட்சிகளை நேரடியாக காண இயலாதவர்கள் நேரலை வாயிலாக டயலாக் தொலைக்காட்சி 48 பியோ டிவி 20310 ஃப்ரீசெட் 2 மற்றும் தலதா மாளிகையினுடைய ஃபேஸ்புக் மற்றும் யூடியூப் தளங்களினூடாகவும் பார்வையிட முடியும். இது கண்டி அசல பெரஹரா 2024. அனைவரும் பெருக பேரருள் பெருக. ரவிஹார்.
Thank you, Midhan. Today you will be witnessing the second Randoli Procession of Kandy Esala Perahera, the tradition and heritage of Sri Lanka. So today at the auspicious hours of 8:07 p.m. under the enchanting night sky, the ceremonial Tasker Kataragama Vasana will carry today's sacred Karandua. So ladies and gentlemen, join with us with the live broadcasting brought to you by Sri Dalada Maligawa Special Media Bureau and PO TV channel number 20310, Dialogue TV channel number 48 and FreeSat channel number 2. May you all have the blessings of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha. Stay tuned.
Of Kandy Esala Perahera 2024, brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of Sri Dalada Maligawa, Kandy.
Now you're seeing the Perahera officials obtaining the permission and blessings of the nilame, the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street perambulations. This is the handing over of the keys by the nilame to the officiating bhikkhus. We are now seeing the Perahera casket, which contains 32 relics of Lord Buddha being placed within the run hilige that is mounted on the lavishly costumed tusker who will uplift the majesty of the great procession today. And this majestic tusker who is tasked with this royal burden is none other than Vasana from the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya. On this year 2024, we are witnessing the grace of the 1714th Perahera that has begun during the reign of King Kirti Sri Meghavarna, who pledged that relics must be carried around the city once a year. And this tradition still continues, followed by the succession of many ruling kings, prime ministers and presidents of the country.
Walking up front with the sound of thundering piercing to the skies are the whip crackers, announcing that the procession has commenced, and these whip masters are tasked with clearing the way for the sacred relic casket and the king.
And this team today is led by Mr. Upali Jayaratna. When looking back at history, in the ancient times, it was the ruling king who would parade the streets of the Perahera. But now, it is the Devadan Nilame who is the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, who will resemble the king in the modern day procession.
The Perahera is believed to be held in prayer for timely rainfall, and the elements of the Perahera is structured in a symbolical way that it paints the imagery of a rainfall. Rain would never be showered without the striking sound of thunder, and these whip wielders are the symbolic imagery to depict the sound of lightning and thunder to pay homage to the rain gods, requesting to bless our crops and cultivations with rain.
The whipmaster's duty is handed down from generation to generation of their clans, and only those who have mastered the art of whip cracking will be taken to participate in the Kandy Esala Perahera. According to traditions, a Perahera which does not have this pedigree are not even worth being called such. In single file, we see the whipmasters carefully manipulating their whip that is nearly 7 feet in length and is made out of natural material known as niyaga and navapatta.
It can be noticed how these whip masters are untying the knots that are formed with whipping, and that is a symbolic to the various problems that we face in the journey of life. Were we to spend a careful expense of mind in untying our problems down our own walk, down the journey of our lives.
While these whips symbolizes the thundering, it also sends a signal to the onlookers and those who are willing to watch the procession that the procession has begun.
Many onlookers who are seated around the city of Kandy to witness this Perahera can be seen throwing thousands of coins to the streets in the belief that this practice will ward off any evil from their loved ones and for the blessings from the sacred tooth relic.
As the onlookers cheer them while they perform, they also throw the coins on the road as an offering. And this is a beautiful tradition that highlights the basis of giving, offering, and sharing among the people of our land. Sri Lankans are among the top in the world's giving index, and that is indeed an outcome of the social influence of Lord Buddha's teaching.
Rain does not come with thunder alone. Just as lightning flashes across the skies, the procession too has its flashes of light dancing across the faces of the people lining the streets to watch. These are the fire dancers who are offering fire, inviting the rain gods to water our lands with rain.
And this team of fire dancers who represent every walk of life are trained and led by Mr. E.D. Tilakaratna.
Even though it seems very paradox to learn that we offer fire to seek for water, this phenomenon of nature is magnificently depicted by this group of fireball dancers who perform these thrilling stunts of acrobatics while illustrating how lightning comes with rain. The turning of fireballs is called Pandam Paliya, which paints the night with varied patterns of light using both hands and feet along with the thrilling episodes of fire stunts.
The splendor of this dance is seen when a large group of them perform simultaneously, merging their various fiery elements into an amazing display of light and heat. The tradition is handed down from generation to generation, with individuals of all age, from the very young to the very old, taking part in this display of priceless and cultural heritage of their clans.
The fireball dance is performed in 3 levels that are known as the Bintalaya, low level, Madatalaya, the mid level, and the Ahastalaya, the sky level. That is definitely the highlighted episode of the fireball dance that is performed standing on each other in great discipline and balance.
The oil-soaked rags are tied to an iron wheel with the leather thongs attached to it, and once they are lit, the dancers perform their acrobatic dance by turning the fired wheels fast, gradually increasing its speed to match the real feel of lightning itself.
The sun, moon, earth, universe, solar month, night and day are all cyclic. The fireball dance highlights these universal cycles while depicting how they burn and cool us in our life cycles. If you notice closely, the dancers use the fire cycle of samsara that is flooded with desire, ignorance, and anger that are highlighted by the chakras.
The dancers are being mindful of the part that fire plays in dispelling darkness, cooking, protecting crops and chainas, are seen taming the fire and making it to an offering to the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, while creating curiosity, satisfaction and amazement on the onlookers.
Next in line of the procession are the Buddhist flag bearers, who are clad in white national costume, who are carrying the most respected flag of Buddhism while preceded by the national flag of Sri Lanka.
And this troop of Buddhist flag bearers are represented by the Pallekele open prison located in Kandy.
The sight of these Buddhist flag bearers create a sense of tranquility among the spectators, reminding us the fact that this procession is in celebration, devotion and an offering to great Lord Buddha.
If you closely noticed, there was a national flag which was held up front of this troop. A priority of the Kandy Esala Perahera is to reflect the unity of Sri Lanka as a nation, which in here is symbolized by the national flag that was leading the army of flags.
The Buddhist flag is a symbol of faith and peace. The 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained enlightenment under the sacred Bodhi tree. The horizontal stripes represent the races of the world living in harmony, while the vertical stripes represent eternal world peace.
The colors displayed in the Buddhist flag represent the perfection of Buddhahood and the Dhamma, which is his preachings. The symbolic identities of these colors are illustrated as blue for universal compassion, yellow for the middle path, red for blessings, white for purity and liberation, and orange for the unshakable wisdom.
The white-clad flag bearers remind the people of the way that the Dhamma is impacted the life from the day the sacred tooth relic was brought to the island. And also, the calm atmosphere symbolically portrays the way of the to end the cycle of life, which is known as samsara.
In the initial segment of the Sri Dalada Perahera, we can see different types of flags being carried. And now we are seeing the provincial flags and the district flags being carried on.
Indeed, Chamoda, the unique collection of the flags in front of us are also known as the provincial flags. These include the uniquely designed flags for the 12 states and 9 counties that were under the rule of the ancient Kandyan kingdom.
It was the tradition that the respective chieftain of the state, known as the rala, would participate in the Perahera with their respective flag that is unique to their state to showcase their loyalty towards the king. While this traditional display reminds us on the glory and sovereignty of the ancient Senkadagala kingdom, it also represents the symbol of governance in compliance to the 10 great leadership qualities preached by Lord Buddha, known as the Dasa Raja Dharmaya.
It is an interesting fact from history that in the ancient times, the sacred tooth relic had been considered as a private property of the king, and the public had never been permitted in having a chance of worshipping it. It was indeed the thankful move by the king Kirti Sri Rajasingha, who declared that the relics need to be taken in procession for the public to witness and venerate in seek for blessings.
We can see that these cloth flags are being followed by the brass flags, and all these flags could be identified as the sun and moon flag of Satara Koralaya, lion flag of Sat Koralaya, white flag of Matale, silk flag of Sabaragamuwa, Berunda Pakshiya flag of Tun Koralaya, peacock flag of Uwa Velassa, and the lotus flag of Udapalata, which represents the states of Sri Lanka.
These brass stands are metallic representations of the flags that are belonging to the 9 ancient states and 12 counties, using its exact same elements that are carved with great precision and attention to the minute details, which certainly portrays the great artistry that takes a lot of time, patience, and even energy.
And this team is led today at the second Randoli Perahera by Mr. Ajit Mahendra.
Following the brass flag bearers, we see walking in great discipline in their calm and disciplined nature are the army of sword bearers who provide protection to the Perahera casket.
And these sword bearers belong to the Angampura troop of the Sri Lanka Air Force.
Clad in white sarong and a white headdress, this army is seen carrying the raised swords, not in warfare, but in a disciplined walk of calm serenity. The symbolic idea of these sword bearers is the historic protection that is provided with the utmost might to the sacred tooth relic.
For those who know about the history of the sacred tooth relic would patriotically be proud of our history and the heroic personalities who always protected the sacred tooth relic with highest levels of bravery.
Chamara, there is a fascinating fact that since the ancient times, the sacred tooth relic has played an important role in the local politics, since it was believed that whoever holds the sacred tooth relic shall hold the governance of the country.
Indeed, from the Anuradhapura era to the Kandyan era, there were several battles over the tooth relic, and it has always been protected by the patriotic warriors, and this is a lesson we need to teach our children, a story to be proud of, and also that if not for them, we would have lost the sacred tooth relic long time ago.
We now see the most magnificent sight of the Perahera, which is the arrival of the very first elephant who will be carrying the Peramuna rala. And today, the elephant who is tasked to carry the Peramuna rala is none other than Kotte Raja, who belongs to the Kotte Rajamaha Viharaya.
It is a norm of the Perahera that Peramuna rala, or the front runner of the procession, is the first person on elephant back, and neither officials nor elephants are permitted to parade before Peramuna rala.
Clad in the traditional white costume that comprises of the white jacket and the triangular hat, the Peramuna rala comes into the view carrying the secretarial scroll known as the Lanka meteor, which is encased in the long cylindrical silver casket. And an important fact is that the particular scroll that is encased in this casket is a traditional form of paper which it is made of, which is native to Sri Lankans, and this scroll contains a full description of the great procession.
And in this description, it includes the royal duties and assets affiliated to the Sri Dalada Maligawa. And the duty of the Peramuna rala is to inform the citizens of the country that the procession is being carried out in compliance to the directives of the scroll.
This is the arrival of the very first Hewisi troupe that represent the official musical ensemble, who are permanently seconded to the service of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
They perform in dignified presence in front of the procession as a tradition which they practice with majestic skill. In fact, no Panchaturya Vardana or traditional orchestra of Sinhalese music that produce sounds using either drums or other musical instruments is permitted before the Hewisi as per the rule of the Kandyan Perahera tradition.
Lanka is rich with its own genre of traditional music, and Hewisi, which is dignified as the authentic sound of Sri Lanka. Its history takes back to the time when the sapling of Jaishrima Bodhi tree was brought down to Sri Lanka by the Sanghamitta Theraniya. And this is also an evidence that marks the fact that Hewisi is the oldest traditional orchestra and Buddhist sound offering in Sri Lankan heritage.
Hewisi, as the most prominent orchestra of the five-fold musical instruments, too has its own two variants that are authentic to various parts of the country, known as Upcountry, Low Country and Sabragama. The speciality of the Kandy Esala Perahera is the pure dominance of the upcountry traditional arts. Wherefore, this particular Hewisi instrumental performance belongs to the upcountry tradition of Hewisi, which is known as Uddarata Hewisi in Sinhalese.
Riding on the second elephant with dignified majesty is the Gajanayaka nilame of Sri Dalada Maligawa, and today carrying the Gajanayaka nilame is the tusker Sindhu, who belongs to the Malvatu Mahavihara.
Rajanaka Nilame is the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants. We can see the burning of coppera, which is the dried form of coconut being burned on either sides of the streets to lighten the way for the Perahera to come.
And now we see the very first dance performance, that is the Bulat of the upcountry dance tradition, which provides a welcoming gesture to the audience.
The dancers of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, trained and led by Mr. Nalin Jai Sekara, carry a heap of betel leaves on a white cloth with both hands and dances in style and discipline using footwork to the tune of the Gajaka.
The Bulat is an ritualistic dance performance in healing rituals or Shanti Karma across the upcountry, low country and Sabaragamu traditions. And here we are seeing the upcountry version of the Bulat which originates from the Kuhumba Kankarya healing ritual. And it is one of the 4 Padaya or 7 dance episodes that comprise of the Bulat Kodala Padaya, Mal Padaya, Salu Padaya, Pol Padaya, Yahan Mutti Padaya and Anguru Dumala Padaya.
The Bulat dance is to welcome the gods to the ritualistic arena known as the Malyahana. In fact, this is performed by a single artist who is a chief dancer dressed in West costume as a part of the custom of the Kuhumba Kankarya. And now we see an elephant coming into our sight with a Buddhist flag on his mount.
And this is the elephant Banda who belongs to the Honorable Devarna Nilame, Pradeep Nilanga Dalada.
And now we see the Malpadya dancers who are seen dancing with the coconut flower in their hands. And this troupe is trained and led by Mr. Chamindra Vikramasinghe of the Nelligala International Buddhist Center.
The Malpadya dance performance, which is known as the Polmal, Malhatpadya or the Madu Kore, is a ritualistic dance performance that has its several variances of the traditions like the upcountry, low country and Sabaragamu. And this act is of the upcountry tradition that originates from the Kumbha Kankarya healing ritual. The symbol of this dance is to pray for the fertility and prosperity, which is interestingly the prime motive of the Perahera itself, where the dancers sing various ritualistic chants, which are in fact verses of prayer for prosperity. Similar to the Kettle padaya or the Bulat padaya dances which you saw on the previous Perahera which we witnessed, from the Kumbal Perahera to the first Randoli Perahera, the Mal padaya too has its 7 ritualistic dance, which is known as the Hat padaya, that is essential dance ritual of the healing ritual across the country.
The polmala or the coconut flower is the flower that blooms from the traditional kapruka or the national tree of bounty, which denotes prosperity. In fact, the national emblem of Sri Lanka too consists of a vase of coconut flowers known as the Pun Kalasa, that is considered as the national symbol of prosperity. This Malpade dancers consists of dancers who hold this polmala, the national symbol of prosperity, with both hands while sincerely representing the same bounty and abundance in their dance.
Now we see the entrance of the elephant Ratna, who belongs to the Palmadula Rajamahaviharaya.
And on the Mount of Ratna, we see a canopy being carried on to depict the protection provided to the sacred tooth relic and the regulars of the gods. coming onto site is a troupe of Chamara dancers trained and led by Mr. Nimesh Sumanaratna from the Sri Chandra Nanda Buddhist College.
The ancient poetic anthology that was written during the kingdom of Kotte, that is famously known as the Salalihini Sandesha, quotes the white tassels in the motion along with majestic elephants are one of the supreme sights of auspicious visualities. And the Chamara dance is certainly an inclusion to add more auspicious value to this Perahera.
Chamara is a popular upcountry folk dance that is one of the most visually mesmerizing dance acts of the Perahera this evening. The Chamara is a white tasseled object that was used historically as a fanning tool to the sacred tooth relic, sacred requiraries and the prominent individuals including the royalty.
Are fanned to the rhythm of the flute and the Kandyan drums, where the gentle cool breeze that is provided by these Chamara brings a very pleasant feeling. This was in fact a regular feature of the royal courts in our ancient history.
The idea of including the Chamara dance ahead of the Perahera is to symbolize fanning to the impending sacred tooth relic, just like how it was performed in actual form back then.
interestingly, you should not miss to notice how this same Chamara dance shall be clipped to the ear of the royal tusker. Indeed, the Chamara, who will be carried beyond the relics, where the Chamara shall be fanned in each time where the tassels flap its ears to show respect, and fanning to the regularities and the godly ornaments of the devalas, which also includes the relic casket of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
Chamara dancers swing these white tassels in various dances and not just creates a soothing visual to the audience but also reminds the audience of the ancient times in which Chamara played a prominent role in cooling ourselves in the absence of the modern day equipment that we are using today.
And now we see the entrance of the elephant Gajaka, who belongs to the Moranvatha Devalaya, and the elephant Taraka, who belongs to Rankadu Devalaya, Kaduvela.
And on the mount of these elephants we see the Burmese flags, and it represents the relationship with Sri Lanka in terms of securing the tooth relic throughout the ages. Coming onto site is the first performance of Naiyandi dancers, and this troupe is led by Mr. Saman Nilvitha.
The Naiyandi dance is one of the most significant dance performances of the upcountry tradition that holds a very prominent procession in the Kandy Esala Perahera, especially during the Kumbal festivities. But it is also represented on the Grand and the Randoli processions as well.
The word Naiyandi is in fact the name of the costume that is worn by the Naiyandi dancers, which is the same costume that is worn by the Kandyan West dancer, with the exclusion of the devoted headdress that is replaced with a cloth turban with a knot on the head center that is taking the shape of a cobra.
The Naiyandi dance is said to be belonging to the classification of Rupanadu due to its visual richness in attraction, and this dance is also known as Adavis, meaning half of the West costume and at times even known as tanikachi, that relates to special head turban that is worn by the Naiyandi dancers.
The speciality of the Naiyandi dancing and the reason why it's called Adaves is primarily because it's performed by the primitive Kandyan dance artists who have not yet been attained reverentially as the West dancer. And any dance artist who aspires to be crowned as a Kandyan West dancer should first master the skill of Naiyandi dance in order to proceed.
And now we see the magnificent entrance of the Tusker Raju, who belongs to the Asgiri Mahaviharaya.
Coming onto site are the Tambourine acrobats, and this team is led by Mr. Aryapala Vijayamanna.
The rabana or the hand tambourine is a very popular object used in the folk dancing tradition in Sri Lanka. But this is no such dance even though we see the presence of the tambourine in play. This performance, which involves spinning of the tambourine, which makes it a more sporting performance than a dance item, and that is why this act is known as Rabang Karakavima or the Rabang Kridava in Sinhalese.
There are many forms of tambourines in Sri Lanka. We have the Maharabana or the Bankurabana, which is a large drum that is displayed by multiple artists at the same time. The Virindurabana, that is played while singing comical verses of Virindu, and the Atrabana, which we see now, that is the most prominently seen in dance-related performances.
The spinning game of Raban can be identified as a developed performance of the Raban dance. We see several generations of artists who are performing at different levels of age levels, young and even senior, who have developed this skill from the childhood by learning to spin various objects.
They spin the raban in the flexible long cane sticks in great balance, and the highlighted episode of this act is when they throw the tambourines towards the sky and surprisingly catch the raban back on their stick or from their hand, with no room for failure. Every such succeeded attempt is applauded with cheer from the onlookers, as it seems impossible to the common eye.
The artists do not forget to infuse several creative twists to play of the rubber, where some artists create episodes of changing the rubber with their colleagues while the tambourines are flying high in midair. And we see some artists pinning multiple rubber on specially designed stands.
We can see that these dancers, some of them are balancing their sticks on their chins, while some of them are balancing their sticks on their foreheads. It's a very unique form of dance which needs a lot of practice and a great degree of precision.
All these wonderful episodes of skills are certainly expressing the talent behind native Sri Lankans to the world that witnesses this great pageant of the Kandyan heritage. The rabana is at times recognized as a drum of phosphority, belonging to the Arthata classification of traditional musical instruments. Both the rabana, which are drums played only using bare hands, are used in the agricultural entertainment and ritualistic activities in the village setup.
We can see a very young performer performing with multiple tambourines on a specially designed stand.
Following the talented Rabban Krida performances, we see the elephant Salia from Mayangane Rajamaha Vihara and Muthu, the elephant from Mutiyangane Rajamaha Vihara.
Coming up next are the Tammatam players. And this team is led by the reputed artist Mr. Sujit Ananda.
Tammatama is also known as the Pokuruberaya in Sinhalese or the kettle drum in English. Is a vital instrument of the Hewisi ensemble that takes a predominant position in the Perahera and as the main sound offerings towards the implementing requeries of worship.
However, this act celebrates the Tammatama as an individual performance, excluding any other musical instruments we saw in the Hewisi troupe.
The amazing feature about this Tammattam performance is what we see both playing and dancing with the Tammattama, which is evidently why it is recognized as the Tammattam Natuma or the Tammattam dance. This is truly fascinating of the beauty of Sri Lankan performing arts, where our artists are gifted with the talent of making more than what is expected of what we are blessed with.
Was introduced to the Sri Dalada Perahera as a singular act by the veteran Tammattam artist A.P. Asuranatha of Siridiyagama in Kurunegala, and that is the person who is in fact the father of the artist Sujit Ananda, who is heading this particular ensemble of Tammattam instrumentalists.
And next we see Miyan Kumara, the elephant from Bellanvilla Rajamaha Vihara.
As Miyan Kumara takes very disciplined strides across the streets of the hill capital, now we are seeing the pictures of a mixed folk dance, and this team is led by Mr. P.C.B. Vijaysurya. Traditional dancing in Sri Lanka is segregated into two main types, which are the Shastriya Natum or the dance performances that are based on healing rituals, and the other being Gaminatum or the folk dance performances. The dance that we see now is a remarkable fusion of not just one, but 4 different folk dance performances being danced simultaneously in the same spotlight.
Here we see the dance artists presenting 4 different folk dances, which are the Talampata, the Likeli, Rabang and the Savaran.
Is certainly a snapshot of the beauty of the Sri Lankan folk culture. The folk dance is also known as Jamanattum or Gaminattum, which are a dance item that represent the culture of the native village lifestyle of Sri Lanka.
These dance acts have no ritualistic regulations that need to be strictly adhered to in a comparison to the Shastriya Natun arts. In fact, there is a lot of space left for creativity in designing the choreography, costumes, tones and other elements of attractions, keeping in mind not to harm the authenticity of the dance and how it passed down upon the generations.
And now we are seeing an aerial picture of the second Randoli procession, where we have thousands of people lining the streets of the hill capital to witness this cultural majesty.
And now we see the elephants Kandula Veera belonging to Sankapettiya Viharaya, Kaduwela, and Viditya Raja who belongs to Dimbulagala Viharaya.
Coming into sight is a troupe of Panthu dancers led by Mr. Palitha Apugoda.
The Pantheruva is a musical instrument that is used as a rhythm tool across 3 traditions of upcountry, low country and Sabaragamu. But the Pantheruva dance is exclusively belonging to the Udarata or upcountry tradition of dance.
This instrument is a small brass circular framed castanet. Has small brass circular framed castanets with 5 cymbals fixed to it, which gives us subtle music sound as it shakes. It was originally used to keep up the beat in the chamber of versifiers or the Kavikara mudwork, and it is considered as one of the authentic tunes that are engaged with the sound offering associated with the Dalada Puja.
century, the instrument was used for the development of semi-classical dance forms. And now we see the arrival of Raja Ali, which belongs to Miss Sita Senanayaka from Hettimulla, and the elephant Punchi Bandara from Horana, who belongs to Miss Anusa Vijayanti.
And on their mounts too, we see Burmese flags together with canopies, which again symbolizes the relationship that Sri Lanka has had with Burma in protecting the sacred relic casket. And now we are seeing beautiful aerial pictures of the Perahera taking onto the streets of Kandy from the Udamaluva of the Sri Dalada Maligawa premises.
And now see the entrance of the Udaki dancers, who are led by Mr. P.B. Thenakon.
Traditional musical instruments of Sri Lanka are sometimes not just used for playing itself. Just like the udakia that we see here in the dance performance, we do not just see the performers playing udakia, but they also perform a dance and interestingly do sing at the same time, which makes the udaki dance a triple act of an infusion of art.
Sri Lankan tradition of music introduces 64 different types of drums, and the udakia, what we see now, is considered as the smallest traditional drum that we find in Sri Lanka. It is in fact used as a musical instrument in healing rituals across all three dance traditions of Sri Lanka.
We are seeing the Kandy city all alive for the 1714th Kandy Esala Perahera. And an interesting fact is this is the only cultural festival that has continued for such a long time. And coming into sight, is a duo of elephant who belongs to the elephant stables of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, and they are none other than Indi Raja and Pulatisi Raja.
And now we see the very first West dance troupe of the second Randoli Perahera.
And this team today is led by Mr. Ishanti Halavila and Lasantha Vansekara.
The most unique and most recognized presentation of the Kandyan dance heritage is the most fully adorned West Natua or the Kandyan West dancer. The Kandyan dancer's skill and dance form have been considered as an authentic expression of Sri Lankan culture.
In fact, it is this icon of the West dancer who is the branding identity of traditional Sri Lankan dancing across the seven seas, despite the presence of many artistic dance performances that are authentically traditional to Sri Lankan dance. It is amusing to hear that it is the same picture that is illustrated in one's mind when they hear the phrase Sri Lankan dance, which we could certainly be proud of. This dance is more than just a ritual. It is a sacred recitation of protection against misfortune. Therefore, the costume of these dancers are also considered sacred. This most glamorous costume symbolically represents the regalia of the king of Malaya, the royalty who performed the ancient ritual of the Hatapas Mangalya, which is a healing ceremony that was held 2500 years ago.
It was in the 4th century BC when the first ever Hatapas Mangalya was performed in Sri Lanka by the Malay king to cure a devidos or a godly curse that had been bestowed upon King Panduvasdeva, who is in fact a descendant of King Vijaya, the Indian prince who discovered the land of Sri Lanka as Thamba Panniya. The story of King Vijaya and his tribal wife Queen is in fact the birth story of the royal tradition of Kandyan dancing, which is quite interesting to learn.
And also, if you were watching very carefully, the West dancing troops, which comes in every segment of the Perahera, always hints us that a climax event is impending. Coming onto sight is the Karya Karavana Korala. Dressed in the white Tuppotiya costume, this is the Karya Korala, who is the royal official that holds the responsibility of all engagements in regards to the offering, the Perahera and the relic casket. He is only seconded to the Devala nilame, and he is the only person in Perahera who has the permission to walk forwards and backwards during the Perahera.
We are now seeing the much awaited and most devout moment of the Perahera, as we see the royal tusker Vasana from Ruhunu Mahakataragama carrying the Perahera relic casket, guarded by the Dal elephants Singaraja from Dalada Maligawa and Mian Raja too from the Dalada Maligawa stables. Let us now take a moment to feel the devotion and worship the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha.
This is the chamber of versifiers or the Kavikara Maduva, the group of poets who walk behind the relic casket while singing the virtues of Lord Buddha. Coming onto sight are the flower and lantern group.
Following the most sacred moment of this Perahera, we see the clan of devotees holding flowers and lamps that symbolize of offering to relic casket.
And this team is led by Mr. Samantha Pereira today.
The youth we see in this occasion are dressed in the most modest costume that shall ever seen in this Perahera, in a plain white robe that illustrates the simplicity and modest behavior that is expected out of a true Buddhist, which is even highlighted in the most gentle walk that we see out of these devotees.
There are several forms of offering that Sri Lankan Buddhists pledge as puja towards the Buddha, and one of its prominent offerings are flowers and incense sticks which offer fragrance to the Buddha, and oil lamps which offer light. We see both flowers and lamps in the hands of these devotees, which interpret this episode of Perahera as an offering of fragrance and light towards the sacred relic casket. An ancient poem translates from the book Sangarajabhatha recites the story of the Kandy Esala Perahera as follows. The kingdom of Senkadagala, the procession of the month of Esala, held from times ago in favor of gods above, led by the grace of Lord Buddha, followed by the deities. The Perahera shall preambulate just like the kings did commemorate. And now we are coming to another highlight of the Perahera, and ushering that highlighted moment, that special individual is the West Troop, trained and led by Mr. Sanjeev Verapitiya and Peter Surasena. performance is a unique form of art which is used in most of the cultural and auspicious events in Sri Lanka. The speciality of the Kandy Esala Perahera is that every form and every move of this particular dance can only be seen in the Kandy Perahera. And now we see the performers performing a special dance form called the Narumatra, which they dance by holding the either sides of their loincloth.
Story of King Vijaya and his tribal wife Queen. According to history, Queen was a princess of the Yaksha tribe in Sri Lanka, who became the wife of King Vijaya upon his arrival to Sri Lanka. Being the first young lady who we witnessed just after discovering this copper-sanded land of Sri Lanka, unfortunately, it is a sad incident when Queen was betrayed by King Vijaya, which led to a devastated Queen who left out with both her children. Being frustrated with pressure, Queen cursed King Vijaya and his descendants, which ultimately affected King Panthu, who was a relative of King Vijaya. This curse, known as Devotees, was not just cured off by King Panthu, for which he invited the Malay king from India to perform the healing ritual named the Hatapas Mangalya.
And this Kandyan dance form is originated from that Hatapas Mangalya. As we see continued pictures of this West dance troupe, Kanishka, I thought of sharing an interesting fact with you. In fact, these very senior dancers who are dancing in this troupe, some of them are traveling from overseas annually just to take part in this West dancing troupe at the Esala Perahera, which is indeed an indication of their commitment to the generational dance, isn't it?
Indeed, Chamara, this shows the devotion of the Sri Lankans toward this great pageant of Perahera, what it means to the Sri Lankans as well.
Indeed, and it is that devotion and that feeling towards the culture that will ensure that these cultural pageants and this majesty of the culture will be there for many more years to come.
See the late custodian of Sri Dalada Maligawa, the 19th Devotees nilame, Honorable Pradeep Nilangadala, who walks with the utmost pride and majesty while bringing in a true sense of ancient royalty to this Perahera.
The Devotees nilame is the royal official who granted water to the kings in history. and is now designated as the lay protector of the sacred tooth relic of Lord Buddha, which makes him one of the truly respected lay leaders in Buddhism in Sri Lanka.
Honorable Pradeep Nilangajala is a devoted Buddhist who is honored internationally for his services rendered towards Buddhism and for his outstanding leadership in preserving Sri Lanka's tradition and cultures for many years ahead.
The Devotees nilame shall walk under the Mutukudaya or the pearl umbrella, surrounded by his army of guards and followed by the Vidanes or the chieftains of the 10 associated villages of the Sri Dalada Maligawa. Seeing now is the final segment of the Sri Dalada Perahera, and we are yet to await the fourth Devala Perahera.
And as mentioned earlier by Chamara, now we see the Vidanes or the chieftains of the 10 associated villages of the Sri Dalada Maligawa following the Devotees nilame.
And if one visits the Sri Dalada Maligawa, they may not fail to witness these Vidanes taking the Rajakarya or the official duties of the Relic casket in the daily, weekly, monthly and annual offerings to Dalada, the Dalada casket.
Now we are witnessing the commencement of the Sri Natha Devalaya procession.
Now we are seeing the rituals being carried out within the Sri Natha Devala premises, which is located in the Sri Dalada Maligawa square.
And now we are seeing the Buddhist flag bearers of Sri Natha Devalaya procession.
And these Buddhist flag bearers are represented by the Sri Lanka Civil Defence Force. What we see is the district flag of Matale, which represents the birthplace of the current Basnayaka nilame of the Sri Natha Devalaya. This repeated depiction of the Buddhist flag in this procession marks that this is a devotion towards the Lord Buddha. It keeps reminding us that this is a pageantry, an offering made on behalf of the Lord Buddha.
This ceremonious procession is performed in adulation of the living Buddha and is well known as paramita, or the act of kindness for the future Buddha. The hexa-colored flag is displayed in ceremonious form to remind people of the great scope and depth of Dhamma that was preached by Lord Buddha. The flag bearers create a sense of unlimited compassion of the Lord Buddha, where this truly calms the undisciplined, wayward minds and focuses them on love and compassion that radiates across the universe, which is the teachings of Lord Buddha himself.
Coming up next is the Hewisi troupe of the Sri Mahanatha Devala, and this team is led by SYG Vijayasena at the second Randoli Perahera today. Just like how the Hewisi troupe of Sri Dalada Maligawa Procession engages in their routine offerings, the Hewisi troupe of the four Devala Peraheras are the actual lineages who still perform in the daily, weekly, monthly and annual rites and rituals of the particular Devalaya. As Hewisi is not just a part of the Sri Dalada Maligawa rituals, but is also similarly important to the offerings of Devala shrines as the main Shabda Puja or offering towards the respective god. Interestingly, the tunes that are played by this ensemble are the ones that are unique to the respective Devalaya.
And today you are witnessing the second Randoli Perahera of Kandy Esala Perahera 2024, which is brought to you by the Media and Special Projects Bureau of Sri Dalada Maligawa.
Coming back to the Hewisi troupe of the Natha Devala, It is fascinating to know how all of the blends of all these instruments individually contribute to the symphonic sound of the overall ensemble. When musically analyzing the instruments on its own, we say that the devala is used to create a deep echoing sound. The tammatama, on the other hand, creates a noise that is heard to far distances, while the horanava creates a high-pitched wind noise, and all of these put together creates the iconic symphony that covers the heritage of Sri Lanka.
And now we are seeing the first elephant of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya procession, who is the elephant Rohana.
And also Kanishka, an interesting fact about the Natha Devalaya is that we will see the color of saffron being represented throughout the Devalaya procession.
And now we see the entrance of the Kelly dance troupe.
And this troupe is led by Mr. Upali Dharmaratna.
Kelly is also another interesting folk dance of the upcountry tradition that consists of performers having two wooden sticks on their hands, who shall dash them together in a rhythm individually and even among pairs or at times as groups.
Being a folk dance itself, this dance too sets a village picture for the audience, but the origin of the exact movement performed can be guessed as the ancient practices of war battles among the folk lifestyles. And coming onto site is the Gajanayaka nilame of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, and he is on the mount of the elephant Kandula. Coming onto site is a Savarang dance troupe, trained and led by Mr. Dilshan Shalika.
As we mentioned earlier, we can see even the dresses of these Savarang dancers are on the color of saffron. Can you illustrate about it?
Indeed, Kanishka, that is because the god Natha is represented with the color yellow. So it is believed that he is yellow in complexion, but there are several other folklores associated to it too.
Talking about the tassels which are used in this dance, they are not artificial crafts. In fact, this is known as the tail hair of the Chamara deer who lives in the tip of the Himalayan mountains, which is used as the fanning tool of the royalty since the very ancient times. It is believed that there is no cooling breeze than the air fanned by the Chamara tail, and this is why the fanning uses these tassels are sometimes also known as Chamara Salima.
The sweet tune of that is blown using the flute is very mesmerizing to the ear, and the tunes we hear from these flutes are in fact specific poems that are exclusively written for the Savarang dance known as Savarang Kavi.
And now we see the third elephant on the Sri Mahanatha Devala procession, who is Sadev Raja.
And on Sadev Raja's mount we see a Buddhist flag which represents that god Natha is next in line to attain the Buddhahood.
And with that we see the next thumb at thumb drums troupe performing.
Before the Dalada Perahera commenced, 1714 years ago, it was just the Satara Devala Perahera that comprised of god Natha, Vishnu, Kataragama and Pattini, which still follows the Dalada Perahera as part of the old tradition. The order of these Devalayas are in fact lined up in the order in which the gods shall be attaining Buddhahood as per the belief.
And now we see the entrance of the elephant Sakura, who is carrying an official with a canopy. And now we see the Raban dance performers coming on the procession. So the Rabana or the ham trampoline is a very popular object used in the folk dancing tradition in Sri Lanka.
And this team is led by Mr. Anjana Gamage.
There are many forms of Raban in Sri Lanka. We have the Maharaban or the Banku Rabana, which is a large drum that is played by multiple artists at the same time. The Virundu Rabana that is played by singing comical verses of Virundu, and the At Rabana, which we see now, is the most prominently seen in dance related to performances.
The Rabana at times is recognized as a drum of prosperity belonging to the Arthata classification of traditional musical instruments. Both the rabana and bumnadiya, which are drums played only using bare hands, are used in the agricultural entertainment and ritualistic activities in the village setup.
And now we see the entrance of the Panthu dance troupe.
And this team is led by Mr. Ruwan Marasinghe.
The Sri Mahanatha Devala in Kandy is located right in front of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, where it is considered as the main shrine that is dedicated towards Lord Natha, and one of the oldest buildings in Kandy that was built even before the Sri Dalada Maligawa. The procession of Natha Devalaya is the first to follow the Dalada Perahera due to the belief that God Natha is next in line to attain Buddhahood.
Particular dance of Panthu, the performers are not just seen dancing but also chanting several verses which are distinguished as Panthu Kavi or the poetry associated with the Panthu dance. One such prominent verse named Sita Lesa Loa describes all affiliations to the Panthu, including its resemblance as a chakra and as the anklet of goddess.
And now we see the elephant Devmini taking part on the Natha Devalaya procession.
Following Devmini, we see a troupe of Udaki dancers coming up next in the Natha Devalaya procession, and this team is led by Mr. Dhammika Tennakon.
Chamoda, there is an interesting fact about the premises of Sri Mahanatha Devala in Kandy. Since it is known as the Jaya Bhumiya or the land of luck, since the time of our ancestors, based on the indication by an ancient Brahmin named Senkada. According to the legend, this sage Senkada had once visited this land and had witnessed a hare being chased by a pack of wolves. And with a flick of a moment, the hare had managed to chase the entire pack of wolves by itself just as it entered this land. Interestingly, it was because of the same Brahmin that evolved the name of Senkadagala to the city of Kandy.
Now we are seeing a troupe of Naiyandi dancers coming up next in the Sri Mahanatha Devala procession. And this team is led by Mr. Pradeep Valikumbura. Coming up next is a she-tusker named Lasanda taking the streets of the hill capital with majestic strides in a very disciplined pace.
And now we see the entrance of the West dancers of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya.
And this team is led by Mr. Vishuddhi Verapitiya. West dancing was considered as a part of royalty itself, where it was formerly associated with the kings since the ancient times. When going down history, the West dance was performed in the time of Anuradhapura kingdom, and this had been rebranded as the Kandyan dance only after the royalty had shifted to the kingdom of Kandy. The dancers who perform in this part of Perahera are not just random participants, but in fact they have been performing in the Kandy Perahera as lineages since the times of their great ancestors. We see the ancestral lineages performing in the West dancing troupes of this Kandy Esala Procession. Beats of the drums together in fusion with the tunes of the anklets of these dancers provides a great symphony. And now we are seeing the trustee of the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, and today taking the royal burden of the requiraries of God Natha is the Vaurukannal elephant, and on either side we see the tusker Queni and the elephant Bandara.
And now we see the second West dance troupe of Sri Mahanatha Devalaya.
And this troupe is led by Mr. Asanka Karunaratna.
The legend of God Natha takes us down through many cults in Buddhism, including the Mahayana and Theravada traditions, where he is predominantly associated as the future Buddha. In Sri Lankan history, there are recorded evidence and mentions of God Natha in Sandesha of Tisara, Gira, and Kovul, where God Natha was one of the prime deities who were seeked by ancient kings of Sri Lanka.
And also, God Natha is known to be a very compassionate deity who always takes care of the citizens and the people of the land.
Apart from the Sri Mahanatha Devala in Kandy, there are several other shrines dedicated to God Natha that includes the Vegiriya Natha Devala in Gampala, the Dudambala Natha Devala in Yachinuwara, the Pasgama Natha Devala in Hewahata, and also the famous Vidigoda Natha Devala in the Raigam city of Corona.
In fact, Kanishka, now today in the second Randoli procession, in contrast to the first Randoli procession where we had the Basnaik nilame of the Natha Devala of Kandy representing, today we have the Basnaik nilame of the Vegiriya Sri Natha Devala representing the Basnaik nilame of the Natha Devala. Coming on to site next is the Basnaika Nilame of the Vegiriya Sri Natha Devala, Mr. Sutanta Iriyagama.
And similar to the Devarna Nilame of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, we see the pearl umbrella surrounded by his army of guards to show the respect towards him.
Indeed, and we see the similar setup where the Vidanes of the Natha Devala also follows the Basnaika Nilame, and that marks the end of the Sri Mahanatha Devala, commencing the Sri Mahavishnu Devala procession. The Sri Mahavishnu Devala in Kandy, that is also prominently identified as the Mahadevala or the Great Shrine, is the main shrine in the hill capital that is dedicated to Lord Vishnu among the Satara Mahadevalayas in Kandy. The Devalaya is located northeast to the Sri Dalada Maligawa, which is accessed via the Rajavidya and is considered as the most prominent religious site in Kandy, that is only second to the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
And now we see the state flag bearers of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya.
And we see the brass standards of the sun and moon being carried in the Vishnu Devalaya procession, hinting us that this beautiful tradition will last till the sun and moon lasts.
The only collection of flags that are being carried in the procession of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya would be the Palat Kodi, or the flags that represent the states and the counties of Sri Lanka, according to the ancient administrative divisions that were divided in history. The reason why we see the state flags leading the procession of God Vishnu is simply to devote the fact that he is the guardian of Sri Lanka.
And the first elephant we see in the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya procession is none other than Haritha, belonging to Tusitha Ranavaka of Deniyaya.
To continue the story, why the state flags were included in the procession of Lord Vishnu is to show that he is the lay guardian or the deity of Sri Lanka, and his eye is being showed or shadowed upon all these states and counties represented by these flags.
Indeed, Kanishka, and also he is known by 108 other names including Hari, Madhava, Venkateshwara and Narayana, apart from the Sri Lankan recognition as Pulvan.
And with that we see the Hewisi troupe of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in this procession.
And this troupe is led by Mr. Saman Priyantha Arambagedara with the second Randoli procession.
The fivefold musical instruments as recognized by the Sri Lankan musical culture as Panchaturiya Natha is noted as Athatha, instrument played by both hands, Vitatha, instruments played using sticks, Vitatathatha, instrument played using hands and stick, Gana, instruments that are dashed with each other, and Shushira, instruments that are blown.
The Hewisi troupe of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya is notably special among all the other Hewisi troupes that we see throughout the procession based on several importances. As we see now, the inaugural ritual of the Esala Perahera is the cup situema, or the planting of a jack tree in the auspicious hour. And this piece of jack plant is being cut from the village of Alutnuara, that is located on the footsteps of the Kadugannawa, which marks the entrance to the district of Kandy, and is also known as the Alutnuara Sri Dadimunda Devalaya, that is the main shrine in Sri Lanka that is dedicated to God, Lord Dadimunda.
The arrangements of the instruments in Hewisi troupe shows the ensemble of Hewisi that consists of the 4 to 5 mentioned tunes except for the Gatapere that is represented on the Arth tune. And now we see the elephant Suranimala, who belongs to Alutnuara Dadimunda Devalaya.
And on Suranimala's mount, we see the Gajaka nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, and he is the royal official who is in charge of the troop of elephants of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya. Coming on to sight, following the Gajaka nilame, is the troop of Pantheru dancers, and this Pantheru dance troop is trained and led today by Mr. K.P. Dharmasiri. An interesting fact to note about the Pantheru dancers in the Kandy Esala procession is no matter what procession they take, their costume is very unique. Among the many legends behind the evolution of the Pantheru, one such story describes how Pantheru is in fact the Chakrayuda or the Sudarshana Chakra of Lord Vishnu. The illustrated appearance of Lord Vishnu is portrayed as the deity with 4 arms holding 4 different objects.
And with that, we see the entrance of Biyagama Rani, the elephant, and the elephant Muthu, who belongs to Muthiangane.
The cooling breeze that blows from the surroundings from the Udavatta forest on the right and from the Kandy lake on the left certainly creates a feel of how nature too contributes to the Perahera by displaying its unmatched unique form of beauty to this Perahera that shall bless the country. And now we are seeing a troupe of Savarang dancers coming up in the Sri Vishnu Devalaya procession.
The Paravi Sandesha anthology that was written in the 15th century describes Lord Vishnu as the destroyer of Asura, which hints a belief in similarity between Lord Vishnu and Rama of the great Indian epic of Ramayana. Interestingly, another poetic anthology that was written on the 19th century calls the shrine as the Rama Devalaya, or the shrine that is dedicated to Rama. This is even more evident with the cloth painting that the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in Kandy possesses, which illustrates the battle of Rama and Ravana.
That's a very interesting talk from literature for our young generations to know. And Kanishka, did you notice that this procession of God Vishnu is kind of a bit biased to the color of blue, and that is because God Vishnu is also known as God Upulvan, which represents that he is a god who was blue in complexion. So throughout this segment of the Perahera, we can say that the color of blue is represented throughout. Coming onto site is the elephant Damunupola and the elephant Sanju, who has come all the way from Matugama.
And this is the entrance of the Udaki dance troupe in Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya procession. And also it is fascinating to note that it is believed that the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya in Kandy was built by King Senara in between 1604 to 1635, during the time in which the Uppulvan Devalaya in Alutnuvara was destroyed by the Portuguese in the midst of their Kandyan invasion. With rulers of the Nayakar clan, who are of Indian origin, took over Sri Lanka, the Uppulvan Deviyo was transformed to a Vishnu Devalaya based upon the origins of beliefs. So this too shows the connection between Lord Vishnu and Lord Uppulvan, isn't it, Chamoda?
Indeed. Coming back to this beautiful performance that we see, these Udaki performers were led by Mr. These Udaki performers are led by Mr. Samansiri from Kondadeniya. coming onto sight is another beautiful duo of elephants. On one side we see the elephant Mudunkot, and on the other side we see Gamunu Kandula from Pinnavala.
We can see even the elephants are enjoying the tone of these musical instruments played in Kandy Esala Perahera.
Indeed, their playful strides hints us that they are taking an enjoyable ride through the streets of the hill capital.
And now this is the entrance of the West Dance Troupe of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya. So talking about Lord Vishnu, he is believed to be dark in skin tone, which is the reason why he is illustrated is shown in the color of blue, as Chamoda mentioned earlier. His appearance illustrates Lord Vishnu sitting on a mythical bird Garuda known as the Gurula in Sri Lankan context, holding a lotus flower, mace, conch shell and Sujarshana Chakra in his forehands, ahead of the great five-headed cobra named Shesha. These elements have now become a unique feature of this Perahera segment itself, where we see the dominance of the color blue throughout this Perahera of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya and his godly weapons being used as illustrations on the elephant costumes too.
This troupe of West dancers are led by Mr. Sarath Ekanayaka, and now coming onto sight is the Chief Trustee of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, preceding the godly reliquaries of Lord Vishnu.
Let us now take a moment to feel the devotion and to worship the godly ornaments of Lord Vishnu.
The tusker who is tasked with the reliquaries of Lord Vishnu is the elephant Ekadanta, guarded by the she-tusker Alapatha and the she-tusker Chuti Manike on either sides.
As we see the second West Dance troupe of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, this shows that we are coming to the end of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya procession.
Indeed, escorting the Basnaik Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, we see the dancing troupe trained and led by Mr. Kundadaniya Samanseri taking majestic steps to lead the way to the representation of the Basnaik Nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya.
According to legends, the legends believe that Lord Vishnu is a future Buddha after God Natha, which is evident reason as to why we see the procession of Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya following after the procession of Sri Mahanatha Devalaya, according to the tradition of Kandy Esala Perahera.
Indeed, in the beginning of the Esala Perahera, it was just the fourth Devala Perahera which paraded the city of the Kandy. And the Dalada Perahera that we saw earlier was a kind of a new addition to the procession, which made it complete. can see when the Basnaik nilame or the representation of the Basnaik nilame takes strides in the Kandy Esala Perahera, the same respect is given in the same setup to the Devotees nilame who took strides in the Dalada Perahera. And coming on to site is the representation of the Basnaik nilame of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya, Honorable Priyantha Yapa Bandara from the Gadula Danya Vishnu Devalaya. And that marks the end of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya procession, marking the commencement of the Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya procession.
And now we see the Buddhist flag bearers of Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya procession.
And they are represented by the Civil Defence Force.
The Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya in Kandy is one of the key places of worship that are dedicated to Lord Katragama in the city of Kandy. And the speciality of Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya being the only out of the Satara Devalaya or the four main shrines that is located outside the premises of Sri Dalada Maligawa, as it is located in the Kotugadalla Vidya, which was once known as the Kavikara Vidya, where the poets of the king had used to reside during the times of royalty.
Coming on the site is the Hewisi troupe of the Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya. The Hewisi troupe of the Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya too is uniquely notable when compared to the other Hewisi troupes. Due to the difference in its tune and tempo, the style of Hewisi not just depends on the regional or the situational variances, but also varies among the several lineages that performed this traditional duty. This Hewisi troupe that leads the procession of the Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya, that is hailing from the lineage of P.V. James Guru Nanse, is distinguished for its faster tempo that is similarly unique to the custom of the rituals affiliated towards Lord Katragama, and also by carrying the large windpipe known as the Kongua, which we did not witness in the other parts of the procession.
The Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya had been built during the reign of King Narendra, who ruled the country from the years 1707 to 1739, where it was considered as a personal Devalaya shrine to the Kandyan kings for their devotional rituals in order to receive blessings of Lord Katragama. If you notice, shrines dedicated to gods are referred to as Devalaya or Kovil. In general, in Sinhalese we used to call it Devalaya, but it has differences based on the practice of cultures of these traditions. Kovils are usually managed with pure Tamil cultural practices of Hinduism, while Devalayas have a certain degree of Sinhala Buddhist influence behind them.
And I think the Katragama Devalaya has a beautiful fusion of the South Indian tradition and the Sri Lankan tradition. And coming up next is the elephant Rani from Godagama, who belongs to Nalaka Jayasingha from Godagama.
And now we see the Pantheru dance troupe of Kataragama Devalaya.
This team of Pantheru dancers are led by Mr. Lakmal Veerasinghe. Although we see this Pantheru dance in different dancing forms and occasions across Sri Lanka, this costume is very unique to the upcountry tradition. So it is only in the Kandy Esala Perahera that we can see this unique costume, and this costume is being kept consistent throughout all the Pantheru dances in each segments of the procession. Coming on to site is the Gajaka nilame of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya on the Mount of Podiraju, belonging to Mr. Chamila Bandara of the Gannoruwa Bandanayaka Valawa.
We can see the majestic walk of the elephant, showcasing his pride walking in this great pageant of Sri Lanka.
Indeed, Kanishka. Not only the elephants, the dancers, the players, those who are chanting in the procession, and every other official takes so much pride in being a part of this great pageantry which has been continued for 1714 years.
And now we see the entrance of the Sovereign Dance Troupe of Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya. And we used to talk about the color blue in Maha Vishnu Devalaya. So here the color red is used everywhere. So Lord Kataragama is known as God of War, due to which color red is represented throughout the Kataragama Devalaya procession.
Indeed, Kanishka. So architecturally speaking, when we see all the other three Devalayas present inside the Dalada Maligawa square itself, we see the Kataragama Devalaya situated outside the square. And that is because God Kataragama is known to be a god of war. So there is an architectural distance which is created with the Dalada Maligawa square and also the Kataragama Devalaya. And now we are seeing the she-tusker Hiruni and the elephant Kesara, both belonging to Mr. Ajit Galage of Hambantota. Coming up next is a troupe of castanet players, and this team is led by Mr. Kondadeniye Samanseri.
The Talampata, or the small set of cymbals, are a vital instrument used in all forms of traditional dancing in Sri Lanka and also in India to maintain the pace and rhythm of the dance. That is technically mentioned as a Titmatre, but here the traditional Talam dance considered these little cymbals as the main prop itself.
The young dance performers dash their cymbals in a choreographed rhythm and perform a dance that creates both horizontal and vertical line movements in the space. using the right moves that are designed to maintain the cultural elements of the act.
And now we see the entrance of the Lee Kelly dance performers. So if we see the procession of Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, we see the high tempo performances all from the beginning to now. So we are now seeing the Paturu dance performances showcasing their talent and using the high tempo to show the onlookers the energy that they are having towards this procession.
Indeed, this Patru dance performance is a bit similar to the Likari dance performance that we saw earlier. The difference being, in the Likari dance there are two wooden sticks used, but here we have two splinters which are held on one hand and tapped on the other bare hand. And this troupe of Patru dancers is trained by Mr. Hasitha Ramanayaka of the Hasitha Ramanayaka Dance Academy. And following the Patru dances, we are coming to a very unique segment of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya, isn't it, Kanishka?
Indeed, indeed, Chamoda. Among the many different offerings that are made towards Lord Kataragama, Kavadi dancing is renowned as one of the most prominent dances of devotion that is performed to impress the Linkins. Kavadi, in fact, a Tamil word that translates to burden in English language, and this dance ritual originates from South India by the name of Kavadi Nettum or burden dance. Let us take a moment to enjoy this brand of music.
Devotees believe that Lord Kataragama is impressed by energy, and Kavadi dancing is one of its key interpretations, where these performers hold the hillocks known as Kavadi or physical burden, a semicircle shaped wooden prop with peacock feathers attached to it on their shoulders, and dance to the fast tempo music in full energy, while at times the most authentic form of Kavadi is performed without a single practice of choreography, but instead a fast-paced and highly energetic dance. Coming onto site is the Kumbhakalaya dance performance, which is again unique to the Kataragama dance performances.
This particularly shows the balance the performances are having.
And following the Kumbhakalaya dance, we are coming to a peacock dance trained and led by Mr. Mahesh Veerasekara from the Surindu Arts Academy.
The vibrance of the procession is multiplied by many, with the peacock dance coming into the picture. Sri Lankans identify the peacock as a unique creation of nature due to its distinct feathers of physical appearance. But the speciality of peacock is in this Perahera is beyond its attractions, as this dance depicts the beauty of peacock as the godly vehicle of Lord Kataragama.
this peacock dance, there's a beautiful fusion of modernity with the culture. And that is, they have lights attached to the prop, which represents the feathers of the peacock. Although it's not very cultural, I think this adds a beauty to this event that they're performing, and it also shows the commitment and that extra mile these dancers go to make this event as vibrant as possible. In this segment of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devala Procession, we see the influence of the South Indian culture coming in terms of the musical instruments they play, the heady beats that are fast in tempo. And with that, we are coming to another beautiful segment called the Bhakti Kavadi. The Sri Lankan orientation of the Kavadi dancing has segregated into several variants which are known as Bhakti Kavadi, Kiri Kavadi, Agni Kavadi, Paravi Kavadi, which have their unique features different to each other. And what we see here in this procession tonight is the variant of Bhakti Kavadi, where the uniqueness of this variant is the concept that the hillock is made under much purified practices and is lifted only after being offered to the god with 120 peacock feathers attached to it, with the belief that even 100 people cannot lift the hillock apart from the designated devotee. And the difference of this Bhakti Kavadi performance to the Kavadi performance that we saw earlier is that this performance has a choreographed dancing style, whereas the previous performance did not have any choreographed dancing style.
Lord Kataragama, or the god of war, is a divine deity who is worshipped as Kanda Kumara, Kartigeya or Murugan in South Indian traditions, and as Kanda Surindu, Kadira or Kataragama Deviyo in his Sri Lankan cult. He is considered as one of the most powerful deities who has an appearance of 6 heads and 12 hands, who sits on the peacock, which is considered Deivane Amma and Valli Amma. So with that we see the start of the West Dance troupe of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya Kandy.
As we noticed all through all these segments, a West Dance troupe always hints us that a very important event is impending. And here too we can see the impending approach of the godly ornaments of God Kataragama.
An important fact about Lord Kataragama is that he is believed to be a divine force behind the ancient king Dudugamanu, in his battles against the Chola invaders of the Dravidian king Elara. The present Ruhunu Mahakataragama Devalaya was in fact the commitment vow that was made by King Dutugamunu, who built the Ruhunu Mahakataragama Devalaya, inaugurated its Asala festival that commemorates the divine marriage between god Kataragama and goddess Valli, and commanded to command the procession. And with that we see the Nagasingam players before the ayar of the Mahakataragama Devalaya.
We discussed many different reasons as to how the Perahera of Kataragama Devalaya is much different to the rest of the procession. One such difference is that unlike the other four Devalaya shrines, the chief priest or the ayar of Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya in Kandy is not of Sinhalese origin, but he is in fact an Indian nation who is of traditional Brahmanic lineage. And today the godly ornaments of god Kataragama is carried by the elephant Bibile, who is taking the strides in the Esala Perahera for the very first time in his life, and we have on either side the elephant Esala and Handala. Let us take a moment to absorb this devout moment.
And now we are seeing the second group of West dancers who are welcoming the way for the Basnayaka nilame of Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya. So when you're talking about Lord Kataragama, the Ruhunu Mahakataragama Devalaya that is located in southeast Sri Lanka is also spoken a lot, which is the headquarter shrine of Lord Kataragama that was visited by majority of Sri Lankans from history till now. And it is believed that there is a practice of the ancient Kandyans to first worship the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya in Kandy before commencing their pilgrimage to the sacred city of Kataragama.
Now we are seeing representing the Basnayaka nilame of the Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya, Honorable Asankaranavaka of the Ganeguda Sri Mahakataragama Devalaya taking the strides representing the Basnayaka nilame. In a similar setup to the other Basnayaka nilames, we can see two lines of guards on either side and the Vidanes following the Basnayaka nilame. And that marks the end of the Sri Mahakatragama Devalaya procession.
Now you are witnessing the commencement of the Sri Mahapatini Devalaya procession.
The Sri Mahapatini Devalaya in Kandy is the only shrine of the Kandy Satara Mahadevalaya that is dedicated to the virtues of Goddess Patini, who is also the only female representation among the guardian deities of the sacred tooth relic. This Devalaya is located in the premises of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, which can be easily reached via the Deva Vidya and is separated from the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya from the ancient Atvidya, which used to be the resting ground for the royal elephants.
And now we see the Buddhist flag bearers of Sri Mahapatini Devalaya taking the strides on this great procession.
And these Buddhist flag bearers are again represented by the Civil Defense Force. These Buddhist flags keep reminding us of the virtues of Lord Buddha, and that this great pageant, which is a mammoth task to put all the elephants, all the dancers and all the logistics in place, is a devotion carried out in the name of Lord Buddha.
And now we see the entrance of the Hewisi troop following the Buddhist flag bearers of the Sri Mahapatini Devalaya.
And this Hewisi troop is the official Hewisi troop of the Sri Dalada Maligawa, and the officials who are leading this Hewisi troop today are Mr. M.J. Palathanishankar, M.G. Sirisena and M.G. Premadasa.
During the month of August, the tune of these Panchaturya Vadana that is making the Kandyan city a sacred city, not only for the onlookers but for all Sri Lankan citizens as a nation.
Indeed, looking at these authentic Sri Lankan drums shall never fail to remind us of the Laksha industry of Sri Lanka that relates to one of the oldest handcrafting techniques that is believed to date back to the same history of Hewisi itself, where it's believed that the first Laksha artisans arrived in the shores of Sri Lanka with the Dumindagamana, or the arrival of the Jayashrema Bodhi sapling to Sri Lanka. Designs of these drums are made using the Laksha handcraft technique during the period of the Kandyan kingdom from the 15th to the 18th centuries. Arts and crafts became highly appreciated and received royal patronage. And now we are seeing pictures of the Gajanayaka nilame of the Sri Mahapatini Devalaya.
And he is being carried by the elephant Maharagama Sita. believe that the Pattini Devalaya is at least 4 centuries old, as there are written evidence of Perahera that has been held during the reign of King Rajasingha II.
Just like we mentioned earlier, in the pantheon of gods who are in charge of the Sri Dalada, the sacred tooth relic, Goddess Pattini is the only female representation. And in this procession also, the only female representation of dancers is seen in the Pattini Devalaya procession. And now we are seeing the first beautiful dance performance done by the female dancers, and it is a Pantheru dance. And this team is from the Sri Lanka Nrutya Janakala Mandala from Gampola.
In the Chamara, the male-dominated presence of artists that we saw previously is no longer visible, as we see the entrance of the female representations of the Perahera, which is indeed the speciality of Sri Mahapattini Devalaya in Kandy.
Indeed, these beautiful dancers take the streets of the Kandy, paying no heed to their gentle souls.
Indeed, not only the dance performances, here we see the she-elephant Manike, who belongs to Anura Kempitiya from Kilpanaya.
And on the mount of the she-elephant Manike, we see a Buddhist flag, which is a representation that Goddess Pattini is also one of the goddesses who are completing the paramita to attain the Buddhahood in the times to come.
And with that we see the entrance of the dancing troupe of Panthu. So we can see the tempo of the procession increasing with the tones of these Panthu dance performances. They are using various parts of their body to create this sound with the Panthu straps that they are having on their hands, with the different alignments and the dancing stances that they are showing now.
These dancers have attached a red-colored tassel to the Panthu to increase the vibrance that they are adding into their event. Coming up next is the first female upcountry West dancers. We see the female version of the West dance.
Being the only goddess that is venerated in this religious pageant, this segment of the Perahera not just celebrates the virtues of Goddess Pattini, but it also celebrates the greatness of women and their value to the existence in this world.
The theories of Kandyan dance classifies such female dance presentations as Narinatam, which translates to the dance acts which are specifically designed to suit the manner and order of females. Being an Asian country with long-standing affiliation to Buddhism, ladies of our country are known to be and are traditionally expected to be modestly conservative in both walk and talk.
And now we see the majestic arrival. Once again, the name of Manike for this elephant who belongs to Shriyani Gunawardhanama from Dangovita.
And on the mount of Manike, we see a canopy which represents the protection given to the godly requiraries of goddess Pathini. Coming onto sight is another female troupe of dancers, and this troupe of dancers are a troupe of Savaran dancers. And this troupe represents the Nelka Arts Academy of Murutalawa.
According to the legends of goddess Pathini, the cult of goddess Pathini narrates many amusing stories which are all part of the legend of this great goddess. One of the most interesting out of such legends is her birth story, which is popular as Sat Pathini, where it reveals the 7 different ways in which she had been born, which includes the story of goddess Pathini being born out of a mango, dewdrop, cobra tear, demeter flower, shawl, fire, and even lightning. The cult of Sat Pathini is also challenged with a different variant which illustrates 12 birds known as Dolos Pathini Upata.
As stated before, Goddess Pathini is much popular among Sri Lankans due to her power in curing diseases amongst women and small children. This is the same reason many of the Sri Lankan low country healing rituals, including the Gam Maduwa, Devol Maduwa and Pahan Maduwa, have accepted this protagonist deity as Goddess Pathini. The popularity of these ceremonies can only be agreed by an eyewitness. And coming onto sight is the third Manike in the Pathini Devala procession belonging to the former mayor of Kegol, Mr. H.R.S.U. Nishankar.
With that, we see the arrival of the West troupe of Sri Mahapathini Devalaya.
And this West troupe is trained and led by Mr. Mithun Bandara from the Mithun Bandara Arts Academy, Watapulua.
So during the Kumbal Perahera festivities, these West dancers were replaced with Naiyandi dancers. So that is a speciality in Randoli Perahera festivals, where we see more West dancers and more colorful performances, dresses being used during the Randoli festivities.
Indeed. And also this West dance performance insists that there is an impending approach of either the requiraries of the gods or the casket or the approach of the Devotees or the Basnayaka nilames. So this West dance we see right now hints us that the godly ornaments of goddess Pattini is yet to come to our sight. Since the West dance takes a prominent place in the dance culture of Sri Lanka, the coronation of the West dancer is a very ritualistic performance or an event which is carried out in the dancing culture. Therefore, the costume is also honored and venerated.
And now we see the trustee of Sri Mahapattini Devalaya coming in front of the godly ornaments.
And the elephant who is tasked with the godly ornaments of goddess Pattini is the elephant Mangala belonging to Mr. Udaragala Patti, and on other side is the she elephant Kanchana, again belonging to Mr. Udaragala Patti, and the she elephant Parami. Let us take this devout moment to worship goddess Pattini. If you closely observed, unlike the other caskets which carried the godly ornaments of the gods, we can see a small statue of goddess Pattini attached to this particular casket, where the godly ornaments of goddess Pattini is deposited.
And with that we see the entrance of the second West dance troupe of Pattini Devalaya, which is also the last West dance troupe of the second Randoli procession.
In fact, Kanishka, it kind of hints us that we are slowly approaching the final few episodes of the second Randoli Perahera.
Goddess Pattini is also known as Kannagi Amman in Tamil folklore, where we find many kovils in Sri Lanka that are built by Sri Lankan Hindu to pay respect to their faith of Goddess Pattini as Kannagi Amman.
We see the West dancers performing the Narumatra, which is a very unique form of dance where they carry the either sides, at the ends of the loincloth by both hands and then perform a very unique performance. A unique feature that we saw across all the West dancing performances is that the players of the drums and all the other musical instruments are lined in two lines in the middle, and the performers, the dancers, are lined in two lines on either side. But when they are performing, they break that accord and then they go into beautiful performances and formations to make the dance more attractive.
Indeed, with the world changing while revolutionizing ancient cultures, traditions and practices, one would wonder if the same diminishing culture applied to these ancient Kandyan traditions too. Certainly not. For Sri Lankans, this is a devotion, and this is the same reason why we see the very young to very old of people taking part in Perahera to give out their best, and this is truly a good sign for the future of the Perahera.
Indeed it is. The fact that the costumes, the formation and the way they dance hasn't changed throughout the years stands witness that these traditions will long as the sun and moon lasts. If we listen carefully, we can hear the chants being sung by the Kandyan dancers as they usher the representation of the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya. And today, at the second Randoli Procession, representing the Basnayak Nilame of the Sri Mahapattini Devalaya are Honorable Bhashana Bandara Kulatunga from the Alavatugoda Saman Devalaya and Honorable Srimad Bandara Valivita from the Walal Lahagoda Kataragama Devalaya. And we can see they are also provided with the same guard of two lines of guards and Vidanas following them. As that marks the end of the Pattini Devalaya procession, we see the Randolis or the palanquins being carried on. It is the custom that 4 palanquins, which are called the Randoli in Sinhalese, are being carried right at the end of the procession during the 5 nights of Randoli Peraheras. The 4 palanquins represents the queen's identity in the Perahera, and they in fact represent the 4 Devalayas, Natha, Vishnu, Kataragama and Pattini. And that marks the end of the second Randoli procession.
Let there be a timely rains that will bring life-giving water to our fields and ensure a beautiful harvest.
May our country prosper. Dalada Samindu Pihitai.